Tim! Hey! We're back! We are back, and why does this seem worse? Okay, give me a sec. I'm gonna see if I could change this. It just seems so bad. Yeah, I had to close that. That just seems bad. I don't know what it is. I really don't. But it still seems effing dark. Hang on. Can you see me? Can you see me? Hello? Can't really do... There you go, wait. Somewhat better. But anyway, we are back. You want to know why? Because one of my shows that I love talking about came back last night, more specifically, and that is Fear the Walking Dead. Oh, finally a show. And my dog is literally, like, right here, and he's staring at me, and I have food, like, right there, so it's like, he's either staring at me, or he's waiting for food. But anyway, I watched it, and it's interesting considering the fact that it was all Nick related. If you guys remember Nick, right? Which is Madison's son. Pretty much at the end of the first half, everyone pretty much freaking hang on. I'm sorry guys, there was this like really cool thing that was on TV and I wanted to see it real quick. And I didn't want it to like you could hear it in the video because last time something was heard from the TV on my video, I got a flag. So that's not happening again. But anyway, this is, I believe, episode 8, which premiered last night of Fear the Walking Dead Season 2. And I believe it's titled Grotesque or something like that. But anyway, I have some of it fresh in my head, but just in case I have like my computer screen's like right in front of me, so just in case I need to like refer back to it. Because my memory really does suck. It sadly sucks. But anyway, if I remember correctly, we pretty much start off with Nick waking up in a house. It looks like an abandoned house. And apparently it's in Baja or something like that. And apparently we see him talking to this woman. And I didn't know who this woman was until pretty much later on in his conversation with her. But apparently her name is Sophia, and she's apparently a member of Celia's extended family. Remember, in that house, big mansion house, so there's a good amount of people there besides, like, Celia, and, there's just, like, a lot of people besides Celia, right? And remember there was a kid there, too. If you guys remember in the previous episode, in the previous half of the season 2, you remember when, I forgot his name, Daniel was all sneaking around the house complex, and he heard a kid talking to somebody, and you see this kid right there staring at something, and he's, like, talking, right? And Daniel's all like, who are you talking to? It's like, oh, I'm talking to my mom and some other family, and you find out that the kid is talking literally to a bunch of infected that are behind, bars, right? So, apparently, Nick, he wakes up in this, apparently like a crash house in Baja, and he's talking to that lady who was a part of Celia's extended family, and her name's Sophia. And apparently she has the kid with her because I believe it's the same kid that Daniel saw talking to a bunch of infected in the previous episodes. Apparently she's going south to find the kid's father. And, there was discussion about, like, Nick joining them or going somewhere else. And so she's like, well, I'm going to go south with Juan. The kid's name is Juan, apparently. And she's like, I'm going south to help Juan find his father. But, like, she's telling Nick, if you're not going to join us, then you should head north and join up with a bunch of people who were just like her and Celia. You remember how Celia managed to get to Nick by telling her, the infected are not dead, per se. And, apparently Sophia, like, has the same ideals as Celia, right? And she's like, if you want to be, with people who are like me and Celia, go up north and join those people. Because there's some people up north that are just like us, that have the same idealisms. But she also warns him that the strangers on the road take advantage of the new lawless world, right? There's no laws anymore. It's an apocalypse. Laws just out the window, right? So she's like, be careful on the road because people take advantage of that. And then, before she leaves, though, she does give Nick a backpack full of supplies, right? But I believe it's like supplies and food, and gives her like a huge ass jug of water. Hang on. I'm sorry, guys. I needed to bite to eat because I haven't had breakfast yet. So this is like my brunch. So anyway, where did I leave off? Oh yeah, before Sophia left with Juan to look for Juan's father, gave Nick a backpack full of supplies and food and a good decent jug of water and points him toward the highway. And, I thought things would be somewhat okay with Nick. I thought that maybe he might find somewhat civilization. At least find more water by the time he's done with that jug and the food in his backpack. But as he's trekking through the hills of Baja, he reaches the highway. There is a sign there that says Tijuana, like 100 kilometers away, right? And, he's searching through abandoned cars for supplies and, pretty much finds nothing. But the flashback we end up having after that is kind of interesting because you actually see him with remember that girl, the very first infected we ever saw? Blonde chick, she was, eating a dude's face off, and Nick, woke up and saw her like that and everything. Turns out this girl is apparently his girlfriend, Gloria, and they were together at a rehab facility in this flashback, which I thought was pretty interesting because I was like, okay, so we're having more of more story to Nick. We're getting more into his backstory and how he relates to the very first infected we saw in this show, which was Gloria, who turned out to be his girlfriend, and they both were in rehab together. And apparently in this flashback, she's making him, rehearse an upcoming meeting with his parents because she's like, you gotta get this right, otherwise you're gonna be here in rehab longer if you don't. So she's all role-playing as, she's like, I'll role-play as your father. And he's like, no, role-play as my mom. It's like, why not your father? But then we find out that, while she's role-playing as the father, we actually find out that Nick blames his father. But, everything that's gone wrong with him, he blames his father because his father was always absent in his life. And I can kind of relate to that, because my parents split up when I was 3 years old. That was, pretty much almost 23 years ago for me. And I lived with my mom. My mom has custody of me. And a good chunk of my childhood, I only saw my dad every other weekend. So, weekdays, Monday through Friday, I live with my mom. And then one weekend, I'll be with my mom. And then the next weekend, I'll be with my dad. Every other weekend was with my dad. But as time grew by, he had another family and all that stuff. I hardly ever saw my dad. So I could kind of relate to him with this particular thing because a lot of times I also blamed my father for being absent in my life. All these bad things that I usually did, like my little rebellion and stuff, mainly because I just wanted my dad's attention, and I kind of don't blame Nick. Because a lot of people who have an absent parent, it's not just a father. If you have an absent parent, it kind of can, at times, it can mess with the kid, And in Nick's case, because he had an absent father, he turned to drugs. And sad to say that does happen a lot these days. When you have an absent parent, people tend to take a turn for the worse. And hang on for a sec, I hear something. My bad, guys. My dog's, roaming around. No human food for you. No. Blah. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I kind of can relate to Nick, because sadly, this does happen. Having at least one absent parent in your life, it can turn for the worse. People have gone down bad paths because of it. And that's exactly what happened with Nick. He had an absent father, and over the times, it turned him to drugs. And sadly, it does happen. Luckily for me, I did have an absentee father, but I didn't turn to drugs. But I did go to a very highly depressed moment in my life, and it is a negative. So I can kind of relate. You know what I mean? But anyway, back to the show. going back into the present time, well, Nick does manage to find what seems like an empty, abandoned house. And, he sets up camp for the night. And while he's sleeping, apparently someone sneaks up on him because we see someone, like, walking into the abandoned house and it looks like they're holding a weapon in their hand. And, like, turns out to be this one lady who, like, pretty much attacks poor Nick with a bat and screaming at him in Spanish, which I assume is Spanish. But what shocked me was behind her was a frightened little girl. I was like, where the hell did this little girl come from? I did not see her in the house. I did not even see her anywhere near the shadow of the lady when she's coming in the house. So I was like, where did this little girl come from? But anyway, hang on. Sorry, I keep hearing these damn noises. Then again, I live in a somewhat old-ass house. So anyway, so this woman comes out of nowhere, attacks him with a bat, screaming at him in Spanish. This frightened girl was there, and I don't even know how the hell she appeared out of nowhere, but I did not see her. I was freaking scared of the girl than that damn girl and that woman with the bat screaming in Spanish, because that girl, like, ninja status. I did not see her. But anyway, Nick's trying to, like, get the hell out of there because the woman's all attacking him, screaming in Spanish, attacking him with a bat. He's trying to get his backpack of food and his little jug of water, but the lady is, like, beating the crap out of him, so he can't get his stuff. So she basically chased him out, right? And now he has nothing. He lost his backpack of food and his jug of water, and he's trudging down the road without it. He has nothing, and he sees, like, a bunch of cars. Some of them are crashed, right? And, he spots a water bottle in one of the cars. Just happens to have an infected, like, strapped in because she has a seatbelt on her. And, he's all dodging the infected and grabs the water and, like, drinks whatever's left of it because there's barely anything in that water, right? He also takes a radio. There's apparently a radio on the dashboard in the same car. And, he's trying to get it to work, but, like, he barely hears anything, right? But then he notices a Jeep approaching. And obviously, if you see a Jeep driving towards you, obviously there's someone alive driving the car. Because obviously the car is driving straight. So obviously this person's alive and well knows how to drive, right? So he sees that and he's all like, Nick gets scared. So naturally he ducks behind the car that he just ravaged, right? And apparently the Jeep had like 3 outlaws in it. And, they're getting out of the Jeep and, they're scavenging through the other cars nearby them, and they notice that apparently there was an elderly man who is still alive inside his car. And so the 3 outlaws, they apparently approach him. I didn't even know there was someone alive there, because Nick just looked into one car, and there's one infected woman that's strapped into the car. And, I didn't even know there's anyone alive, right? So they see the man still alive and he's begging for water. I'm guessing he's begging for water because he's speaking in Spanish. I'm not trying to be racist or anything. I am just saying. I heard the word agua. Is that water, right? I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. Ugh. But anyway, I believe he's begging for water. And the 3 asshole outlaws, instead of helping this guy, of course, because they're outlaws, they kill the asshole. It's like, you don't see it, but it zooms out to Nick's point of view, but then, like, you see them stab, obviously, the guy through the window. So yeah, they killed the elderly man instead of helping him. Obviously, these guys are assholes. They kind of remind me of, the original Walking Dead, the Governor's people. Remember the Governor's people? Those guys were assholes. But anyway, after they do that, unfortunately for Nick, the radio that he found in the car, that he turned on, sadly enough, the radio goes off, and the outlaws hear the radio crackle, and they're like, oh shit, someone's there, right? And so Nick tries to run away, and they chase him through the field, start shooting at him, and he ends up, running through the dense thicket. And, thankfully, though, Nick does manage to escape. Unfortunately, afterwards, he ends up walking through the desert in the blistering hot sun, and he's desperate because he has no food or water. So he's all pounding a cactus leaf, and, he's eating the flesh of it, but unfortunately he gags and vomits. And with no other option Nick urinates into his hands and drinks it. And I am running out of time. I will see you guys in the next video, okay? Oh my god, I'm 5 seconds out. I will see you in the next video. Bye.